The content herein is for informational purposes only, not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and is not to be substituted for direct advice from your doctor.
Welcome to LymphCast, the gathering place for physicians, healthcare experts, and special guests. We dive into the world of lymphedema, venous disease, and other related disorders, exploring their impact on your daily life. So settle in, unwind, and join us as we uncover everything you need to know about lymphedema and related conditions on our engaging show LymphCast.
Today's LymphCast program is proudly sponsored by VitaSupport MD, the makers of Vein Formula 1000 and Lymphatic Formula 1000. These MPFF-based nutraceuticals are backed by science and recommended by doctors specializing in venous and lymphatic disorders. Visit VitaSupportMD.com to learn more.
Well, greetings and welcome to our LymphCast show, episode 40 tonight. That's right, episode 40. And we have another great show for you. But first, I want to remind you, every single show is on YouTube, and every single show is on pretty much every podcast platform under the sun. I want to direct you to our website for further information. That is lymphcastnetwork.com. Everything is there for you. And also, if you have a question for the panel, our email address is hello@lymphcastnetwork.com. Well, let's meet tonight's panel. From California, Dr. Emily Eicher. Hello, Dr. Eicher. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Paul, and thank you for the wonderful theme. And we were just having a debate, and I feel like you are the extended family that I left way back then in Slovakia. So I am so honored to be part of this wonderful team. And again, John, my arms are around you, and your dad is in better place.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that.
All right. Glad to have you here, Monica. Let's go to Arizona. Dr. Monica Glavitsky. Hello, Dr. Glavitsky. How are you?
Hi, everybody, and thank you for having me with this wonderful panel. I'm looking forward to our today discussion, and I'm so touched that John could make it. John, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, absolutely. So back to the New York area, RVT, regular panel member, Jacqueline Sasek. Hello, Jacqueline. How are you?
Paul, I'm well. How are you?
Doing well, and we are ready to go. We have a special guest tonight. Before we get to our actual guests, the CEO of the Chuback Medical Center. She's also the producer of the show and the driving force behind everything that we do. Let's welcome to the show tonight, Dr. Diane Chuback. Hello, Dr. Diane Chuback. How are you?
Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here. This is a very, very special show that our listeners are going to derive so much from. And it's an honor for me to make my debut on this side of the camera because we've been doing this show for about 2 years now, and we've entertained so many incredible guests. And these two guests tonight touch my heart, especially because of what they've gone through with their lymphedema condition, and then how they've just opened up. And once that happened, it's so much flowed from there, and they've touched so many lives. So this is going to be a very special show that everyone is really going to get a lot out of.
Before we bring them in, I want to introduce the founder of the show and VitaSupport and all that good stuff, if that's okay. The founder of the show, a physician surgeon from New Jersey, also the founder and owner of VitaSupport MD. They make Vein Formula 1000 and Lymphatic Formula 1000. As I mentioned, physician surgeon, Dr. John A. Chuback. Hello, Dr. Chuback. How are you?
Hi, Paul. Fine. Doing well. Thank you so much. Looking forward to tonight's program.
Yes, very much so. Thank you for being here. And now, Dr. Diane Chuback, I'll turn it back to you and take it away.
Okay, wonderful. So today's show, I'd like to split into sort of two parts because one is introducing our first guest, Matt Hazeldine. He's joining us from England today, so it's a little bit late over by you, Matt, but thank you so much for staying up. And we want to introduce Matt and his book and his website and this incredible resource network that he's put together. And then we were going to move on, and we were going to introduce Amy Rivera, who's here today. And we know Amy. She's been on our show before. She's also a credible author and voice for lymphedema. And then we're going to talk about this incredible collaboration that these two individuals had done. So it's going to be a great show. So we're going to start with Matt. And Matt, thank you so much for being here today. And you have accomplished so much in this field over the last, I'm going to say 13 years now, right? Since you've had your introduction to this condition. And I'd like you to just start telling us about yourself and how you came to have lymphedema and how this whole thing started for you.
Okay, well, before I do, Diane, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here and in such esteemed company. So thank you very much indeed. Yes, it is in England. It's a little after 10:15. And as I said earlier, don't ask me to stand up because there will be pajama bottoms underneath the screen. But yes, I don't know if I can claim 13 years of proactive behavior within the lymphedema community. That's quite a recent evolution. I think when you get lymphedema, and it's not just me, I understand, but many people I've spoken to, there's a roller coaster ride that you start on. And for me personally, you mentioned episode 40 today, I think, Paul, is that right? Episode 40? Well, they say life begins at 40, right?
That's right.
That's the age I got lymphedema.
Yeah.
And it was Father's Day weekend in 2011. So that tells you how old I am now. And I was picking out a putter, a golf club, as my gift for Father's Day, and fell ill quite quickly. Got home with flu-like symptoms, a raging temperature of over 40 degrees C, convulsions, freezing cold, and it wasn't very pleasant. And after a couple of hours of that, my wife decided to take me to A&E, where it sounds strange saying this out loud. I ended up curled up on one of the benches in A&E like a baby, shaking, not knowing where I was, what I was doing. And I don't think that's uncommon, actually, when you find out why. Anyway, they admitted me and put me on IV drips and morphine and tried to control this fever. And it was a weekend, so they took bloods, the cultures went off, and typical weekend delays. They came back on Tuesday and they noticed strep and staph both in my system. And at that time, in the hospital bed, I noticed a little red rash about the size of a very small coin, and gradually that spread up my leg, up my whole of my left leg, and it was incredibly painful. It was unbelievable the speed in which this rash appeared, and I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk without a walking frame. It was like acid being poured down my legs. It was horrendous. So on the Tuesday, the cultures came back and they confirmed it was cellulitis. And I was asked whether I'd had an X-ray. And when I asked why, they wanted to rule out, and forgive me, I always get this wrong, necrotizing fasciitis, which, as my wife quickly pointed out, was flesh-eating disease, which could have led to amputation. So fortunately, it didn't come to that, but it was quite a scary moment at the time, especially 6 months after starting a brand new business and with a young family. So it was quite a life-changing time, that's for sure. So I was in hospital for 2 weeks, and after eventually the cellulitis subsided, my left leg was incredibly swollen, about half the size of the right leg, so 50% volume increase. And one of the specialists wandered past the bed, gave me a 2-minute examination and said, right, you've got lymphedema, go to the supplies room on your way out and pick up some stockings. And that was it. So I was discharged from hospital with these off-the-shelf class 2 stockings and told very little else. So that was the beginning of the diagnosis. And from that, as I think is quite normal in these circumstances, about a 2-year period of crisis followed, burying my head in the sand, dealing with this new challenge, this life-changing challenge that was lymphedema, not many people, even my GP, knew where to point me in the direction of help. So quite a scary start to the journey. I don't know whether that's common in the US for a lack of information to be provided, but it's not uncommon, sadly, in the UK for lymphedema to be sort of a holy grail of knowing where to find help. It's quite common, sadly. So yeah, I'd say 4 years of being in the doldrums and feeling a bit of self-pity and trying to find solutions, and that included clothes and shoes, of course. And Paul, you look very dapper in your shirt and tie there. I got to the age of 40 with a nice selection of suits and shoes and trousers and jeans. Anything from the waist down just had to go to charity. It didn't fit. So, it's quite wardrobe changing as well as life changing. So that was really the start. And then I got to the point in life where I thought, okay, I'm a solutions kind of guy. What can I do to help myself? And then I started to raise money for the local hospice in the Weald, where the Lymphoedema Unit practiced from. And that built my confidence. My wife has been a tremendous support and has helped me with clothing solutions, including made-to-measure Levi jeans, which were a game changer. And it sort of got my self-esteem, my self-confidence back to thinking, right, what's next? How can I turn this negative into a positive? And you'll hear lots about that a bit later on, I'm sure. I'll stop talking, Diane, because I realized I'm rabbiting on, so carry on.
Well, what I'm hearing is, so many people don't get the diagnosis until much later, but in your case, you did get the diagnosis, but then you were not told, what can I do about it? Who should I see? What are the therapies? What are the treatments for this? And so again, that's, unfortunately, all too common, of a scenario. But it seems as though you had some people that you met in your life. I believe there was like a therapist named Kelly that, kind of turned things around for you, really, really showed you how to deal with this.
Absolutely. I owe so much to Kelly. And when I was writing the first book, How to Live Better with Lymphedema, I couldn't track her down. I couldn't find her. And the book could not go out without her in it, because she was she was my light, my guiding light. And she took me under her wing. She listened to me for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So she let me just spew. And then she came up with a self-management plan. She came up with made-to-measure garments, which were class 4S in the end. So the highest level of compression in the UK. She just, as was mentioned earlier, she cared. She really cared about my health, my well-being, both mentally and physically. And I think that's the important thing, that the mental aspects of lymphedema are often forgotten about. There isn't often the time to talk and ask, actually, how are you? How are you coping with this? How are you dealing with this? It's fine to sort of measure you for garments and make sure you've got the right creams and, you're getting your MLD. But actually, sometimes it's important to talk and let people know exactly what's going on under the bonnet and or under the hood, I think you guys say. So yeah, she was awesome. She was brilliant and pointed me in the direction. And that's the reason why I wanted to donate and fundraise for the hospice, is to say thank you to her, thank you to the lymphedema team for putting me on the right road, on the right tracks.
Right. And also, it seems as though through, a series of treatments and surgeries and things like that, you've come to, really understand and know this disease and how to cope and what kind of advice to give. And so you became a voice now. And what's unique, well, very interesting at least, is the fact that you are a male voice for this. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So having buried my head in the sand for a number of years, I went to a lymphedema conference. We all know the Lymphedema Support Network, or the LSN in the UK, a fabulous charity and organisation to help patients. So I went to their London conference, I reckon 2015, 2016, something like that. And out of about 100 people, there were 3 men, me included, with lymphedema. And so I got chatting to the other two chaps, and we actually formed like an email group just to keep each other in the loop and, give each other some moral support when we needed it. But that was indicative, I think, of society in the UK, and I'm guessing in other countries too, where the male voice is not heard. We tend to keep our heads down and keep our mouths shut and stew and keep the lid on it, which isn't healthy. It's not good for stress, not good for mental well-being. So I decided, look, okay, time to share my voice, to share my 10 years with lymphedema, including, as you said, the different management techniques, the surgeries. I'd had lymph node transfer, I'd had liposuction or SAPL twice. The only thing I hadn't had was LVA because I wasn't deemed suitable. So I felt I could talk the talk as well as, walk the walk, albeit a little lopsided with my lymphedema leg. So that was the sort of thought behind the book. It was approaching my 10-year anniversary, or lymphiversary, if you like. And I thought, okay, well, this is the perfect vehicle to share my stories, experiences, solutions, and tips to help people to learn from my mistakes, if you like, and fast track them to the solutions rather than them going through the similar journey to me. And I was fortunate enough over the years to have made a number of really good, strong relationships with medical professionals, experts, professors, doctors, therapists. And I invited Professor Mortimer to feature in my book and write factually and give guidance and generic advice, because I'm just a patient. I can't give advice. And one expert led to another, and I had yeses from everybody I asked. So there are over 20 lymphedema specialists in the book, all providing trusted information and guidance about a subject that I've then written about in a chapter from a patient's perspective or somebody living with it. So if you talk about cellulitis, I write about my journey and then pass to two professors who are specialists in that area to give the information to help people. And that's how it kind of evolved, really. And the book, I'm pleased to be saying, is selling all around the world, which is nice to see.
That's incredible. So the title of the book is How to Live Better with Lymphedema, Meet the Experts.
Yes.
Beautiful. Available on Amazon and...
Yeah, paperback and Kindle as well.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So then the website followed. Tell us about your website, because I was looking at it and it has so many layers. I mean, you can just go in. There's so many different resources there. Tell us about that.
Well, going back to when I first found out I had lymphedema, I didn't find anywhere obvious to go for help. And we've all done it. We've all jumped on Google, scared ourselves with all the images of people on there with these huge limbs. And I wanted to create something that I would have needed when I was diagnosed. So a one-stop shop website with all of the experts, a number of good experts, especially from the UK, suppliers with product solutions, not just with lymphedema, but with clothing and shoes and socks, to organizations that can provide trusted and information, such as the LSN, the BLS, and Learn are on there as well, from the US. So Bill Rapisi has been fantastically involved with both of my projects. And importantly, a Meet the Members section where people living with lymphedema can share their stories with others. And some of them were quite happy to put their email addresses or their social media addresses on there. And during this journey is how I met the wonderful Amy Rivera, who joined the Meet the Members page and shared her story. She launched her book, Drop the Skirt, on exactly the same day as I launched How to Live Better.
That is an incredible coincidence.
Which it is. And there hadn't been any books from a patient or somebody living with lymphedema for years and years and years, and then two drop on the same day. But fabulously, like we'd planned it, one with a male voice, one with a female voice. So you couldn't have made it up, really.
Yes, incredible. And It's just really, like I said, your website, such a beautiful compilation of resources for everyone, and meeting Amy. And now we've had Amy on the show before, especially featuring Amy's book, which was launched the same day as Matt's, the Drop the Skirt, which was, such a great, I think, beautiful moment for you, because it represented just a switch in the way you thought about this and the way you thought about your life. And that, it was just such a great, empowerment time for you. And so we bring Amy now into the conversation, because the exciting thing between the two of you is this collaborative book now. And I would love to hear a little bit more. I mean, obviously, you're both on the same track, right? It seems as though the common thread here between both of your work was that the minute you opened up, the minute you, as Matt said, took his head out of the sand and started speaking about it, started sharing with others, your attitudes and everything changed so much. And the work just flowed from there. Everything that Matt, you've done, and Amy. And so, I have the book here, and I appreciate this beautiful copy. Thank you so much for sending it. Lymphoedema United. It's in my opinion, it's just an incredible book. It's just courage. The whole book is just courage. And it represents that. It represents voices and stories.
Vein Formula 1000 and Lymphatic Formula 1000 from Vita Support MD are backed by science and sold in doctors' offices. If you're a physician who may be interested in prescribing or selling these excellent nutraceuticals, please call 862-246-7877 to speak to a representative today.
And so, Amy, if you want to let us know a little bit about, how excited you must have been to, have this idea to collaborate with Matt and to put these stories together.
Sure, absolutely. First, I want to say, Matt, I did the numbers and added it up your age, and you look fantastic. So it doesn't matter if you're wearing PJs below the waist or not. So yeah, like Matt said, we both published our books on the same day. We really didn't even know, each other that very well, nor did we know that we were publishing the books. And it was a great segue to the project that we created together, Lymphoedema United, because, as a patient myself, like Matt, I felt very alone. And I thought, there's got to be a way to unite everyone together for a bigger purpose than just me sharing my story, Matt sharing his. And what about the people that feel left out? And I wanted to bring them into the community, because part of advocating for not only those people who need us, but for themselves, is to use their voice. And believe it or not, a lot of lymphy people don't want to use their voice because their head's in the sand, or they have given up all hope. And so I thought of this for a while, and I just kind of sat on it. It was dropped in my spirit on doing this project. And I thought, well, I want to pick the perfect co-author. And I reached out to Matt and I said, hey, you want to do this really cool project and let's connect the ponds? And he was like, absolutely. And from there, we created the You're Not Alone anthology. And it was such a great project to work on with Matt. One, he's really easy to work with and he's very organized. But we also, share the same vision, and we agreed on everything. It was like we finished each other's thoughts. We were just on sync with how we wanted to spread this awareness. And it's always been my goal to create unity worldwide, not just in the US, not just in Europe, but worldwide, and especially in the areas that people are unreachable, like Africa and Egypt. And we wanted them to feel a part of this. And so it was a little difficult at first, because some people were like, well, wait, what do you want me to share? And as we were helping the author share their story and write those words on paper, we realized that they're reliving the trauma. So we got to relive it with them, and we got to work it out with them and be there for them and be supportive. And by the end of their chapter, we were getting messages like, I feel so great now. I feel like I can do more. I feel like I could share more. And I know Matt can say the same, that I've gotten messages from people like, my mom's in tears because I shared my story. And that's really what it's all about, is uniting everyone worldwide. And so that's kind of where it went. And Matt and I were just like, yeah, we're just going to do it. And that's kind of where we were with it. And so, I loved Matt's lymphedema website already and his book, and we loved the logo, and it just made sense to keep that because it showed people uniting. It showed, one voice, one mission, one vision, and I thought that was really important to keep that, because that is the vision we had, and that's the message that we wanted to share worldwide. So that's kind of where we were with it.
That's wonderful. So how did you come across all the authors? Were these people also in your, the tribe on social media? And
Yep, they were on the tribe. They're in the tribe. Matt and I would meet on a regular basis, and we would split up who we were going to talk to, who we had personal relationships with, and who we were just conversating with on social media. And we just divided and conquered, and just kept reaching out to people until they were really understanding the full aspect of the project and really wanted to get excited with the project. Because it took some coaching and some tugging to do, because it's really hard for people to share this type of story. And I understand that. It was hard for me for a very long time. Hence, drop the skirt. I hid under skirts and long dresses. So Matt had his head in the sand. I had mine under skirts and dresses, And so these individuals, they were different parts of their journey. So we had to be a little diligent with reaching out to them, but also very caring and cautious of how we communicate with these individuals.
Right. How many countries does the book represent?
So we've got 14 countries represented from 34 guests. And we were very keen, where possible, to increase the number. But as you may have spotted, for those eagle-eyed ones with the book in front of you, it says volume 1 there. So watch this space in the coming years for the further volumes. But just to pick up on Amy's point, a number of my guests are not on social media. They haven't done this kind of exposure before. I've either met them on our charity golf day, or they've written their story for our website, and I've had to cajole them gently into suggesting that it would be great for them to share their story in a book which has a far-reaching audience. And some of them, just don't welcome social media into their lives at all. So it's a big jump. Bravery, courage, you're absolutely right. Hope, inspiration. The stories are authentic, relatable for most people. And what I liked about the majority, if not all of the guests, is they've gone through that downward spiral, and then they've come out the other side with turning the negative into a positive. And if somebody around the world can read that story and relate to it and be inspired to go, do you know what? I'm not going to let this lymphedema beat me. I'm going to look at you as a bit of a role model, of which Amy is a fantastic role model. If that changes their life, I think if just one person can come out of that spiral, then I think we've done our job, Amy.
That's right. That's right. And Matt, you're just as fantastic. I mean, this was a great project with you.
It was amazing. And, I think it won't be the first and it won't be the last time that we collaborate on projects together, because as you said earlier, Diane, Amy's energy, her enthusiasm, her passion for helping others within the lymphedema community is known globally. So it's been a real pleasure to work with her.
Yeah. Well, I applaud both of you. Yes, Monica.
I have actually 2 questions for both of you. First of all, during the whole project of that book and witnesses by patients from different countries, have you noticed the really differences between one healthcare system and another? Is that something visible in the lymphedema community that you could point out?
I've done lots of talking. Amy, do you want to
okay.
Or I can jump in.
Well, for me, and Matt might have a different perspective, what I noticed was even if a few that were diagnosed early had the same experience as Matt, they didn't know what to do. I only recall 2 or 3 people who were given advice immediately after diagnosis, even two as children, but neither one of them are in the U.S. So that was a tall tale for me. But what I did notice throughout everybody's story, they weren't given the right information, or they didn't know where to go, or there wasn't a lot of information out there, or there wasn't a lot of resources. Minus those 2 or 3 individuals who were diagnosed early and had treatment early, and again, were out of the U.S. Matt, would you say that's kind of
Yeah, I'd agree. You know, whether you look at India, in fact, one of the guests in the book had to move cities to get help in India, and eventually one moved to Canada from India to get the help they needed. So I think this is a widespread issue. And, you know, as Amy said, if my little old website here can communicate some consistent message along with the work Amy's doing, that there is a place to go for trusted information and guidance, then, you know, if it helps a couple of people, then that's a big tick as far as I'm concerned.
And that leads me, to my other question, because I think that truly the last years were crucial in the development of awareness of lymphedema and all this movement through the social media. And you are the very good example, because you once you shaken out, all this terrible weight of it's hopeless. You really started on the active war against, in a way, lymphedema. And I'm wondering, because the actually several people were in the like 10, 20 years ago, there was nothing. But lately, thanks to you guys, I think it's getting much better. Don't you think so?
Amy, please, ladies first.
No, it's night and day difference. It's night and day difference from when I was diagnosed in 2013. I was born with it in the 80s, but I wasn't diagnosed in 2013. And then even then, there wasn't a whole lot, which is why I created Ninjas Fighting Lymphedema. And now, just in the past 5 years, the reach it's amazing to watch. It's amazing to see that people are recognizing the word lymphedema. It's amazing to see physicians and caregivers and even other people like Matt and I with lymphedema really start to understand that there is something out there that can be, that can help us, but they understand the importance of treatment and they understand the seriousness of it. And so I think we're seeing more of that because of social media for sure, and reaching the people that we wouldn't normally be able to reach.
I want to point out, Matt, thank you so very much for your dedication. The same, Amy, you guys are wonderful to opening up and sharing your story. At the same time, I want to point out for our listeners, not every lymphedema occurs as you experienced, Matt. You must have had some lymphatic insufficiency prior to that it was not detected, not diagnosed, and so on. So not everybody starts with a massive cellulitis. A cellulitis occurs when there is any kind of skin lesion openings on limb that was already compromised with lymphatic system. And over the years, it starts expanding initially perhaps on microscopic level, but then it progresses. And once you get an infection like you had, then it just explodes. So for the listeners, I just want to point out that this is not very common occurrence in lymphedema patients, but it may happen as a consequence of lymphatic insufficiency in one limb or wherever you have the lymphatic insufficiency. But congratulations on this tremendous awareness. And it's not a secret. I have been living with lymphedema since early 80s. and things do change. However, today I had a patient who had breast cancer in 1985, and so she had double mastectomy, and she didn't know anything about lymphedema until she got cellulitis, which was misdiagnosed. And we are talking about United States. And she didn't know why her arm exploded. And similarly to your story, Matt, she had the same thing, but on the upper extremity. So we need to educate not only the population, patients, but physicians too. And frequently, I still see, if you have especially lower extremity lymphedema, untreated, undiagnosed, and so on, there is always this water pill, and here are the compression stockings, and there is no cure. Those are common answers from all the patients. On the contrary, I am happy that you are pointing out, yes, we do not have a cure yet, hopefully in the future. However, we have a treatment. And with your dedication and with your books, you will show us about the treatment and guide the patients how to get better. So compliments to both of you.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. And just to pick up on your point, Dr. Acker, in the first book, which obviously goes into a lot more depth about my journey, you're absolutely right. Professor Mortimer talks about a perfect storm that caused my cellulitis, which was so for my 40th birthday, I bought a lot of golf equipment, and I wore a brand new pair of golf shoes, got a blister, thought nothing of it. I'm a clean person. There was no issue there with dirty feet. I then fell down some stairs carrying an oak table in my brand new offices, which caused severe bruising around my buttocks and upper thigh. And 3 years prior to that, I had what the doctors thought were a strangulated hernia in my groin. So they decided to take that out, and it wasn't, but they thought they'd remove some lymph nodes just to send them off for biopsy whilst they were there. So those three things were a number of years and months beforehand, but Prof. Mortimer talks about a perfect storm that created the cellulitis, which I didn't think we had time to go into that level of detail, but it's all in the book. It's all in the book.
Yeah, and I think, there are so many great stories with all of your authors, and which then kind of brings me to another point about all of this, which is very exciting, that LymphCast, we were approached by Amy and Matt. In fact, Matt, you were scheduled to come on the show as a guest in our regular LymphCast series. But then when we found out about the book and that he and Amy were collaborating, we said, my goodness, this is a great opportunity. They did approach us to say, could we use this as a forum to bring on some of our guests? And we were thrilled because, no one's more happy than I am when, the actual voice of the lymphedema patient is represented on the show. And so yeah, this show now officially kicks off the special edition series of LymphCast that will feature several authors. I don't know how many will be on each show, but I will leave that to Matt and Amy to decide. But there's going to be about 6 or 7 more shows, a special edition for LymphCast to bring these stories to life. Because, again, like I said, in terms of relaying information, storytelling is really so incredibly powerful because people relate to it, they see themselves in it. And, and interestingly, lymphedema, there's so many levels of etiology and how it forms, and so many different ways that people can get this. And these stories very interestingly outline a lot of different types of experiences that people have had that have led to this development. So anyway, would you like to give us a little preview of some of the shows that are coming up for the special edition?
Matt?
Okay, we're first of all, on behalf of both Amy and I, we're thrilled that you're supporting this project, and thank you so much for allowing us to commandeer 6 of your podcasts in the future. The first one is on the 14th of February, and we have We have Amanda Sobey, who I know you're very familiar with, joined by Kaz Windsor from the UK, who has had lipedema and lymphedema and turned those negatives into an amazing positives. And then that's followed by two gentlemen, one of whom is a golfer from our charity golf day who shared his story, Graham, joined by another gentleman who will follow, name to be confirmed. And then we've got another one planned with Jean Lamantier and off the top of my head, Angela Marquez. And then I think, Amy, you've organised some for April,
Yes,
May.
Yeah, we have April, May. We have Kruti from India, who is a physician who has upper extremity lymphedema as well. We have Carmen Renee, who has lipedema and lymphedema, and she is a powerhouse on social media with just body acceptance and sharing her daily life journey with lipedema and lymphedema. And we have quite a few others. We have a gal who just had surgery and now she's riding her horse again, so we have quite a few amazing authors, sharing their journey and then showing where they are thriving today with it. So we're really excited that they've agreed to share their story, not only in a written form, but as a podcast form as well. So it's really empowering to see and hear and just watch them grow.
That's wonderful. And this may be a little spoiler alert, but I came to the last chapter of your book, and I was really touched to see your daughter Jade there. And, I didn't know, and I have to say, I mean, she's absolutely beautiful, and she's been fortunate in her journey that she had you as her mother to guide her and let her know all along that, her lymphedema is something that should not affect her sense of self-worth and still love yourself and all these wonderful things that, you've come to realize it in your journey. And, but I'd love to talk about her a little bit because there's a whole different angle that her story takes with animals.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. She started showing signs of lipedema when she was about 11, 12. And she wasn't officially diagnosed until she was 15. But she struggled with body image, especially being in school, and nobody else looked like her, and she couldn't understand. Even I didn't look like her because I don't have the lipedema component. I'm more lymph. And so I really had to pay attention to how she reacted to me and other females around her. And so I started to watch her behavior kind of spiral a little bit. And we thought if we got her support dog, it would help. Little did I know it was going to turn into a full-blown business for her. And she loves animals and she communicates with animals, and she's found her strength in animals. And she doesn't focus on what she looks like anymore as far as comparing herself. She's thriving, and I didn't know an animal would. I love animals. I just didn't know how much power they really had in healing, and that was really amazing to see. Amazing to see. And she trains dogs professionally. She has one dog who won the national state championship for dock diving, and she had another one for frisbee, and she also trains dogs for police and the military, and she's the only one in Missouri for like high-strung animals for temperament issues. So she's just really good with them, and she's like, they don't judge you, and they give you your space, and you give them theirs, and it's really easy on my body, and it's something I like to do. So yeah, it turned into a whole business for her.
That's wonderful. That's just incredible. And I don't know if she's so inclined to join us on one of those episodes, but we would love to meet her as well. And
yeah. So
good. Yes.
Yeah. Someone did ask me once, a parent did ask me, how would you feel if your child had this? And they didn't know at the time that my daughter has this. And I said to the parents, given where I was diagnosed years ago and how I was misdiagnosed for all those years, I would make sure that my child had every resource they can at this point. And I'm not as afraid as my child being diagnosed with it today as I would have over 40 years ago or even 20 years ago.
Mhm.
I know there's still a lot to do, but there's so much there now that we have a good foundation to start on. And I think it's important for us to understand that even with people like myself who have children with it, it's important to understand we actually finally have a little bit of a foundation to start on.
Mhm.
So,
Which is great. And that is another area of, lymphedema that I'd like to address going forward in the show as well, is do some shows with children. And there's some special people out there who are running programs and camps and things like that. But again, that's a little bit down the line, but that's something I'd like to explore as well. So
at VitaSupport MD, we believe in creating the best bioflavonoid-based supplements to support your vitality. Bioflavonoids are found in abundance in nature and support excellent health and wellness. The demands and stresses being put on our bodies in these challenging times are unlike any we have seen before. Support your body with the flavonoids it needs to fight inflammation and oxidation. Unlike other products in the marketplace, VitaSupport MD dietary supplements use micronized flavonoids for optimal absorption and effectiveness. Micronization is an advanced process which creates an ultra-fine powder easily absorbed by the body. At VitaSupport MD, we are passionate about making your good health our life's work.
Well, we are so looking forward to, launching this with you guys. And, we are going to be continuing our regularly scheduled LymphCast. These will be just some additional shows that we have dedicated to really going through the stories in your book. So we're very excited about it.
thank you so much. It means a lot to Matt and I. Words can't express how grateful we are for individuals like you guys supporting people like us and our community. You could be doing anything else in the world right now, and you're here with us, and so that means a lot to us.
No, it's our pleasure, and it's been a pleasure seeing you again, Amy, and Matt, getting to know you, and I look forward to working with you guys more. And it's going to be great.
Oh, thank you so much, all of you. It's been a lovely experience to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I think that certainly you are giving us much more than we are giving you, because from both your personalities and stories and activities that you have, this is such an inspiration for simply a human being. And I'm very grateful for both of you.
Thank you.
We want to bring in Dr. John Chubak or Jacqueline Sasek. Any questions or comments before we go?
I do have a question for both of you. I think for the listeners that might be out there that still have their heads in the sand, so to speak, or still are wearing that skirt, they haven't dropped it. How were you able to do that and get yourself motivated, or find the strength to come out and drop the skirt and get your head out of the sand?
For me personally, it was a conversation I had with a coworker. I asked this coworker if she wanted to go swimming with me, and even though I wasn't showing my leg, I had this whole routine of how to go swimming with my leg. I would cover it and then slide into the pool and all this stuff. But anyways, I asked her to go with me, and she made a comment that fat people don't swim in public pools, and she was speaking about herself. And it broke my heart that she thought of herself that way, because I don't see her that way. The gift of lymphedema has really humbled me and allowed me to see people for who they are, not what they look like or what they have, and especially for myself. And so when I saw the pain that came with that comment, I felt compelled to share what I was struggling with, because I wanted her to know she wasn't the only one struggling with self-confidence. And that was the moment I decided to drop my skirt.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, because I don't wear skirts, the breaking point for me was I mentioned Kelly Nixon, the hospice in the Weald, where the lymphedema team first treated me, and I owe them so much. A few years in, the trustees met and were debating whether to close the lymphedema clinic to outpatients and just concentrate on the cancer patients at the hospice. And so the team, Kelly and the team, asked me to come and present on behalf of all of the lymphedema outpatients to the board of trustees to put our case across as to why the lymphedema clinic was so important to us. And so I was privileged and honored to be invited to present to a room of 100 odd people. And even though my presentation was passionate and had conviction, sadly, the trustees had kind of made their decision and the clinic closed to outpatients. And sadly, since COVID, in the UK in particular, so many clinics have closed and therapists retiring and new blood isn't coming through. But getting up and speaking in front of that room of 100 odd people and the trustees really gave me the motivation to go, right, it's time to make a difference and do something positive here. And it just went from there. Prof. Mortimer asked me to do a feature in the Daily Mail health section, a newspaper in the UK, which I gladly did. And then it sort of picked up from there. And once I start talking, Diane, you can't stop me. You know?
No, you have a lot to say, and we're really interested in hearing all about it going forward. So, well, I thank you so much for your time tonight and everything that you have brought to us, both of you, and will continue to do so, especially since this is not the end. Seems as though this sounds a lot like Dr. Chubak's situation when he starts writing books. This is just the first volume. Then there's a whole other set of volumes waiting to be discovered and put out there. So honestly, to all of you who treat lymphedema patients and who reach out and spread the word and create the awareness, I mean, you're all incredible. I thank you all.
Well, if I can jump in for just a moment. I've had a wonderful time listening tonight. These have been inspirational and very, very motivational stories. And of course, I know Matt to some degree. I know Amy better, and I know their book very well, and all the wonderful things that they're doing online and in social media. And we're going to do everything we can to collaborate with them and continue to shed the light on these important subjects. And as Diane mentioned, I have written several books, and generally I would call them in the genre of self-help or personal development. And one of my favorite quotations in that space has been attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson. We never really know in some of these cases if these attributions are correct, but we'll give Mr. Emerson credit for this one anyhow. He said that if you do the thing, you will have the power to do the thing. And if you do not do the thing, you won't have that power. So in other words, by taking action, we actually become energized. We don't become tired. We don't become exhausted. The more active we are, the more enthusiastic we are, the more that we do, the more that we have the power to do. And I see that in Matt, and I see that in Amy, of course, and I see that in our group here at the LymphCast. It began as an idea that I had, a small kernel, and I was fortunate to have people around me who thought that it was a valuable idea and a worthy idea. And we began, and with time, we've only grown. And now, as Diane pointed out, we are attracting to ourselves. You talk about the law of attraction. This is how it works. It doesn't happen by magic. It happens by activity. And through the actions that we've all taken in producing these 40 shows, we have attracted to ourselves, Matt and Amy, just as they have attracted us to them. One of the great teachings is that whatever you are in search of is also in search of you. And so we have found each other. And now our podcast has taken on completely new dimension that I think Diane has really been eager to develop and to explore since the beginning, which is more patient-centric, more patient-focused, and this is a beautiful collaboration. And what I'm already seeing in this collaboration, especially with Volume 2 and Volume 3 coming, and so forth, and we're going to have another book from Amy. I think we're going to find a Scottish gentleman who does wear not a skirt but a kilt, and we can, if we can find, because I don't want to say that a kilt is a skirt, but lymphedema, and I'm sure we can find such an individual, all joking aside, and that may be a cultural and social issue for that person. But what it brings us to is, as we're working together, this process of education, enlightenment, awareness, exposure, and providing hope and help to those suffering with these problems is only growing and leading to more. And what I'm seeing, it's something we've discussed on the show, I think, from time to time, but certainly internally. I think that this collaboration may lead finally to a meaningful conference, a meeting, which may be somewhat of a hands-on workshop, as Dr. Eicher has envisioned in the past, with therapies and therapists and physicians and clinicians and so forth, as well as reaching more and more sufferers of these conditions. And I can see a beautiful conference coming out of this. What do you think about that, Monica? You're the world's great conference attendee and collaborator and contributor.
Yes, we know a lot of conferences, but I think that this one would be very precious one. And actually, when we discussed in the past with Amy, I love the idea that it's shared also by Emily, that part hands-on, and the part really practical learning for a group of patients or a group of physicians. Both parts clearly needs to be educated a lot, I think. And whichever form it takes, it will be welcome among the patients and among the physicians or therapists. That's for sure. And I think that the nice example may be how much everything is progressing recently is that finally we had this compression admitted in the United States as a treatment, a valuable treatment for lymphedema, right, Amy?
Right. I think it would be a great idea. We're still navigating those waters of the LTA, but I think it would be a fabulous idea. I've talked about it many times, having a conference. I would really like to see a patient-oriented conference along with physicians and therapists. So, the thing I see lacking in conferences, and Dr. Eicher, we've seen each other so many conferences and stuff, but the one thing I see lacking is the understanding from a patient perspective in a conference setting, and I think that's really important.
Yeah. So there we are. We're laying out our goals as we speak.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm definitely jotting some notes. I have some, I think, really interesting ideas, and I think that there's a great need for it, and hopefully there would be a significant interest. So after tonight's show, I think our group will kind of huddle and start to flesh out some ideas and think about how we turn this, as I like to say, transmute this idea into the physical realm and bring it forth into reality, just as these good folks have done here, taking a wonderful idea and turning it into something which exists in the tangible physical world, which can impact and has impacted so many lives. And we intend to help spread that word, as I've said. And with that, I think we've probably finished up the lead-in to this very exciting new series of shows. And Paul, perhaps you can lead us out and into the future.
We will do that. Yet another powerful and terrific show, episode 40 of the LymphCast show. Remember to hit our website at lymphcastnetwork.com. We are on YouTube. We are on multiple podcast platforms, all the big ones and lots of the little ones too. And send your questions to our panel, hello@lymphcastnetwork.com. Before we sign off, let's go around the room and thank everybody. From California, Dr. Emily Eicher. Thank you, Dr. Eicher, for everything tonight.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, team, and thank you, Matt and Amy, or Amy and Matt. You guys are terrific, wonderful, and continue this journey.
Yes, absolutely. So, down in Arizona, Dr. Monica Glavitsky. Dr. Glavitsky, thank you for everything. Another terrific job.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed a lot. Amy, Matt, and of course, all the panel, all our wonderful team. And well, this is the first of the series.
That's right.
The new road is open.
That's right. First of many. Our RVT from New York, Jacqueline Sasek. Jacqueline, thank you for everything.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Matt and Amy. I look forward to the episodes that are about to come starting next week. Yes? Starting next week?
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Okay.
That's right. And before I turn it back to Diane to thank our guests, and then we'll sign off, we do want to thank Dr. John A. Chubak, the founder of the show, also the founder and owner of Vita Support MD. They make Vein Formula 1000 and Lymphatic Formula 1000. Dr. Chubak, thank you for everything tonight and all that you do.
Thank you, Paul. I just want to say that with these upcoming patient interviews and personal interviews from the book Lymphoedema United Volume 1, if it has any impact similar to the recent episode posted from Elisa and Stephanie, I think it's going to be tremendous, because I've been getting many, many personal emails and messages through LinkedIn and so forth, that the response to that show has just been fabulous. So I think that we're onto something really important here, and I look forward to developing that and continuing to shed light, shine, and increase awareness.
Yep, very well said. And let's turn to the producer of this show, also the CEO of Chubak Medical Center, Dr. Diane Chubak. Thank you for everything, and I'll turn it to you to thank our guests, and then we will sign off. But thank you, Dr. Chubak.
Yes, thank you so much, Paul, and I so appreciate you all being here, and especially Amy and Matt, everything you're doing. You know, when we started this show 2 years ago, we thought, well, who's going to listen to this? How are we going to get this going? And you know, within a little over a year, we got some stats back, and oh my goodness, okay, well, we've really got all these listeners in North America. That's exciting. And then a little while later, we find out we're being listened to in 8 different countries in Europe, and this is really getting exciting. And now we're teaming up with Matt and Amy, who are, you know, building this international audience and taking us along with them. So we are so grateful for that, because I just feel on both sides it's a win-win. And we feel very lucky and very fortunate to have you guys join us in this regard.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much indeed for having us. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
You're very welcome. Amy, thank you as well.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I'm really excited to see where this goes. Matt will finally get to come to the United States and see what we're all about here.
Oh, yay.
All right.
Well, thank you again for watching and or listening to us, or both. It's been a LymphCast episode 40. That's right. You heard that correctly. 40. Please join us again. Check out the website, lymphcastnetwork.com, and we will see you next time for LymphCast. Have a great evening.